Let's just take a moment and try exercise. Pretend I'm Sydney.
I miss you. I know I probably shouldn't, but I think about you all the time.
I bet you do.
I'm thinking it over.
I used to believe that people determined their own lives. Yet there's one force more powerful than free will. Our desires.
Gene, we're just here to listen. At the end of the night, we go home to our lives and they lead theirs.
You're not getting emotionally involved again, are you?
Where were you?
I told you.
I know, but where were you, really?
You blurred so many boundaries.
I guess I feel like I've been living my life as two people. I don't know which one is real. I don't know who's in control anymore.
You need to control your fucking impulses.
Does it make you feel powerful to manipulate people like this?
I'm afraid our time's up.
Congratulations on this show. It's amazing. It's beautiful to look at, super tense, and it's I feel sort of pervy saying this with all these. It's very sexy. So I hope that's okay for me to say. Yeah.
Definitely.
Where did the show come from? How did it start for you?
You know, I've always been very interested in creating sort of strong, flawed female characters, and you know, I think we often see those roles played by men all the time, and I think, you know, just being honest about women, how multifaceted, how three-dimensional, you know, the fact that they struggle with things, they're not perfect, they're not always sweet and nurturing. I think for me it was really the ability to showcase women like that, and I'm really proud of how many female characters there are in the show, how many women worked on the show. You know, I wanted to create something sexy, and particularly sexy for women that, like, you know, and men, which I hope, you know, they all think it's sexy, but I think just, you know, really sort of telling that kind of story and being honest about it, I think was something really important to me.
Can I ask about the look of the show? Because what I really liked about it was that everything is very polished and clean, but all of the desires lurking underneath are not polished and clean. And I referenced this scene backstage where Naomi Watts' character kind of breaks the, as you said, the fourth wall at this birthday party and starts sort of calling everybody phonies to a certain degree, and that felt like to me a microcosm a lot of what the show is really about.
Yeah.
That we all kind of put these walls up to try to cover who we really are or what we really feel.
Exactly. I think we all, you know, we all wear sort of public faces of who we're supposed to be, and I've been referring now to the show as like an anti-white picket fence show, because I feel like, in a way, it's taking those ideas of a woman who has a very enviable life, you know, on paper, and truly she probably thinks she does, and yet, as you said, there's sort of this undercurrent of something underneath, and that's why even in the aesthetic, I thought it was really important that it was polished, it was so pristine, because it's almost like it looks like it should be perfect, you know? And then that,
every location, even not just in the house, but where she works, all the locations have this very pristine, clean quality, like someone literally just cleaned the hell out of it before they walked on set.
They probably
and she's there to dirty it up, to make it messy.
Yeah.
Naomi, talk to me about what attracted you to this character and this journey that she goes on.
Yeah, I would say I was definitely curious about TV, and a lot of the great writers are there now because of the state of the film industry. And I was approached actually firstly by Sam, the director of the first 2 episodes, Sam Taylor Johnson, and I knew her, and she brought it to my attention, and the first read of it just felt really compelling, and absolutely, as Lisa says, this complicated, flawed woman who on paper has everything going for her in her life, and but feeling this level of you know, she's just not satisfied. She's suffocating in a way, and needs to self-destruct. And I love that there was this aspect of a cautionary tale, that she can have all these dark thoughts, as we all do, and have all these desires as some of us do, and yet she's acting on them in a different way than most of us. And you know, it's what we do with those thoughts and actions, and she's kind of doing it all for us, so we can watch it at home in the safety of our own lives, and get turned on in the process, hopefully.
Look, I didn't say it was turned on. I said it was sexy. I'm not going to go that far. At least
Watch
not publicly say that. Yeah.
Well, after that.
But what I also loved about her is that while she is flawed and maybe acting on these desires, she's also a very good person in other ways. She's a very good mother. She actually is a pretty good wife. I mean, up until a certain point. But even then, you know, marriages go through ups and downs, and people deal with these types of things. While flawed, she's not sort of destroying everything around her all the time.
I think she's trying.
To destroy or trying to be a good person?
Trying to be a good person. Yeah. But yes, unconsciously or subconsciously, she is self-destructive, definitely. And I think that's because she's at a point in her life where she feels like, oh, panic in a way, like, is this it? And she's got a pretty much perfect marriage and a great family, a great kid, and career's doing well, lives in the nice house in the suburbs, but there's something underneath her that's still bubbling, and she doesn't want it to sort of just disappear. She just is curious, and she's also, you know, for her patients as well. Her patients are kind of just, she's hearing the same old story, and she doesn't want to keep doing it in the way that you're supposed to do it, and so she's trying to think outside the box and help them, and then, you know, one thing turns into another, and next thing you know, she's on a bit of a downward spiral.
Can we throw a quick shout out to the kid who plays your child on that show? That is the most adorable kid I have seen in a TV show in a long time. That's it. Yeah. Sophie, let's talk about your character. Talk about your character in the show. You kind of go on this journey with Naomi Watts' character. I haven't gotten to episode 7, which I'm being told over and over again that I have to watch. Talk to me about your character.
Yeah, so I play Sydney, and my ex-boyfriend Sam is seeing Naomi's character for therapy because I've kind of messed with his head.
Played by Love's Carl Glossman.
Carl Glossman, yeah.
Anyone watch Love before working with him?
I definitely want to watch it. You did?
I did, but like I didn't connect that they were
Look him in the eyes after? Or
well, luckily I didn't connect. Like it was a few months afterwards, like, oh, right, very glad I didn't connect. Yeah, so he's seeing Naomi's character for therapy. Naomi hears about me and ends up tracking me down under the alias of Diane. And then we end up in this very intense cat and mouse kind of power struggle. And it gets a little bit heated.
A power struggle? Is it a power struggle?
I think it is, because they're always trying to outdo each other. Like, Sydney will dare Diane to come to a club, and she does come, and then it's next level. So it's always like, it's like a game of chicken. Who's going to...
her down to a degree as well when she doesn't sort of follow through on certain...
Yeah, she wants to call her out and really test her. And I think that was an interesting thing about Sydney, to not make her, you know, to still make her likable, even though she has that testing nature about her. But she's like, if you want to play the game, you really have to bring it, because she doesn't take any prisoners, Sydney.
I also think they recognize each other in the sense that they're both sort of lying, and I think that's almost like a turn-on instead of being a turn-off, since what Jean is doing is based a little bit on, obviously, lying, fake name, and identity, and so I think it's like almost making a contract, like our rules, like the same rules don't apply to us.
What was it like writing a show that was essentially completely women all around the show? You have 2 male characters in the show, Billy Crudup and Carl Glossman, who are, for the most part, a bit more, I would say, I don't want to say, not weak, but more, more passive, and even sort of having the struggles that are usually the typical struggles of female characters in shows.
Exactly. I mean, I think it's a real reversal of the shows, the sort of archetypes we're used to seeing with men and women, and both Billy and Carl, I think, did an amazing job in the show, and I think they bring a lot of nuance, and you know, I think there is a lot of dimension to their characters, but definitely for me, it was these female characters and seeing all of the dimensions of them. And I also wanted to showcase that not all men are the way that they're depicted in TV and movies. Not all men cheat, not all men are immoral. The fact that the moral center of the show is probably Billy's character, I think that anchors the show for some viewers who might not relate to Jean or might not relate to Sydney, you know, that they'll actually find, oh, okay, I understand Michael and that's my way into the show. So, you know, I think he serves as sort of like the moral center.
Melanie, you kind of play his temptation for his moral center, right?
A temptation? I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, Alexis, she's an aspiring writer and she finds herself working for Michael Holloway as a paralegal. But they become friends. I think they really enjoy each other's company and she really wants to do a good job. She almost plays the idea of the ideal in her own head, what a paralegal should be and should dress and how she should behave. Because there's another side of her that when she is writing and when she's getting up and doing her storytelling, she... I
love that moth-like storytelling moment in the show.
Yeah, she's more pared down and kind of a bit more hipster. But yeah, it was really interesting.
Which is kind of an attraction for Billy Crudup's character as well. It's this other idea of like sort of taking yourself out of this very clean world that you've built for yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
And Lucy, talk about your character.
I play Alison, and we first meet her when she goes into Jean's office for the first time, and we find out she's been struggling with an addiction to amphetamines. But she kind of goes in, and the way that she handles it is a kind of extension of her addiction in the sense that she just wants to get kind of the quick fix to it. She doesn't expect it to turn into this whole kind of extended relationship with Jean, and kind of doesn't expect it to be handled the way that it is.
It turns into another situation where Jean kind of breaks boundaries that someone should not.
Yeah, not too much. I mean,
I think in that relationship,
in a kind of nurturing.
It's
Is it
much
like a
more
healthy
nurturing.
boundary breaking?
There are ways to break boundaries that are good, and there are ways that are bad. And Jean has that ability, and so in this case, you know, she wants to help.
Was that an intentional juxtaposition on your part?
Definitely.
Like, this is how to break boundaries in a bad way, and this is how maybe a positive,
you know,
helpful way.
It's kind of Jean's rules, so it's whatever suits her. But I think with Allison, there's almost also like a maternal connection, a want to care for her. And I think, you know, she's struggling with her mom. Jean is struggling with some issues with her daughter. And so actually they find sort of a relatability between them.
Naomi, I have to ask, you're on another show right now as well. You are on Twin Peaks, which is just, I mean, it's David Lynch back. It's, for any nerd, it's like the greatest thing in the world. You know, I shut the lights out on Sunday night and get my mind blown. It's wonderful. What's it like to sort of be watching the show right now? Because I know when you guys were getting scripts and everything, you got your sides and that's really all you saw, right?
That's correct. And not to contradict you, but I've been in Europe and so I haven't watched any of it yet. I'm waiting.
You're missing out.
I know, I can't wait, and I'm going to do it in a nice few sessions. But yeah, you get given the script and the pages of the scenes you're in, and some of the lines are even crossed out, so you don't know what's been said. Like if you walk into a scene and it's been going on before you got there, you don't know what happened. They're just blacked out. So it was all very mysterious. But I loved it. You just trust someone like David Lynch and give yourself over to it because he just has one great idea after another, and he's always absolutely hell-bent on truth, even if it's surreal and a heightened reality. It's always based in truth.
One of the things that I love about this season, and we're not going to talk about Twin Peaks too long at all. I realize you're not here for that. I apologize. But it is David Lynch back. And is that it's not him back doing the Twin Peaks of 1990. It's him doing, like, someone gave him money to do later period David Lynch on television, and it's bananas and incredible that someone did that. But your character is one of the few narrative threads of the show. Could you tell that while you were shooting it?
No, I had no idea. I really didn't. I mean, I knew I was in scenes with Kyle MacLachlan, but other than that, I had no understanding. I didn't even know who else was in it. So, yeah.
Let's get some questions from the audience here. Questions about Gypsy, because I wasted any sort of Twin Peaks questions that you might have had.
Hey guys, so I know that the show looks really intense and the characters are like supposed to be flawed. I was wondering if there was any preparation or any of yourself that you like brought into the characters that you guys were playing.
Well, I don't have any flaws. I'm just perfect. So it was hard for me to imagine. So I read a lot, and
they made a lot of mistakes. I think all of them.
No, I just really identified with this character because she is having this identity crisis, and you know, I grew up in England. I moved from England to Australia. I even moved around a lot of times in England. Went to several different schools, and I had this feeling constantly that I had to fit in to the new group that I was, you know, surrounded by, and so I from a very early age, I understood what it was to have to reshape your identity in order to win over the crowd, and so I kind of related to Jean for that reason, and I am endlessly fascinated in the exploration of one's identity.
You've played, I think, a number of, you know, for lack of a better term, flawed women in your career. I'll actually just say three-dimensional women in your career. I think back to when you were first got a lot of notice. It was Mulholland Drive and then 21 Grams, these amazing performances. Is it difficult to find roles like this for women? Really for any actor or actress, I would imagine.
Yeah, there's definitely less stories being told that are driven by women, female stories, which is a shame. And it seems that TV is a great place for that. And it does feel like it's opening up a lot more now in this last few years. Things are getting better. And certainly I think as I get older, I feel like it gets more interesting. I mean, I've lived a certain amount of years, and the roles reflect that. You know, I'm not just playing the girlfriend or the daughter or the wife, or, you know, it gets a lot more juicy when you go through, you know, years of living intense experiences.
I can't remember a time where it didn't seem like you were
on the verge of a nervous breakdown in a movie.
Or you know, not taking roles where it was just you kind of like, is he safe? Okay, thank you, and like hanging up the phone. You know, you've always had really meaty roles that you've gone after or been a part of.
Well, they're fun to do. They're fun to, you know, I wish I could do more comedy, but I just think there's more fun in playing these kind of roles. Comedies, they're harder to find good ones, I think.
Oh, I wasn't doing a comedy. I was doing like a Clint Eastwood tragedy or something, you know, where like the wife is on the phone finding out that he's safe. Yeah. Next question.
Hello. I wanted to know some of the differences between filming a TV show and filming a movie.
How about Eddie, you guys? I feel like I'm talking too much.
Okay. Yeah, for me, it was really interesting having the episodes given to us 2 episodes at a time, rather than like knowing your entire arc. It was really exciting, us all getting around the table, having these reads, genuinely being like, oh my God, are you serious? That happens. It was really exciting and kind of really nerve-wracking as well. And I think it keeps you on your toes, and it makes you as an actor feel like you have to keep all of your options open. Like you don't close any doors off. And you definitely, I mean, you have ultimate trust in Lisa. And just really make sure all of those relationships are really strongly developed. And like all of my scenes are with Naomi. So just kind of trusting in our chemistry and it being a very organic thing and just kind of seeing how it grows. And then obviously time, it's a lot quicker.
Next question.
Hi. So since you're all great performers who have a lot of films in your background, how did it feel for you guys to put all those different characters into this series? Like,
how did your background help your performance in this show? I'll let you go.
Me? My background. This is a really interesting question. I would say all the roles I've played are different, and I don't know, the character of Alexis. I read. I mean, just reading, I was explaining earlier how I read the sides, only the sides were sent to me, and I was just so intrigued by who she was and the writing, and I was like, who is this writer? This is wonderful, please send me the script. But yeah, I think with any character I play, you always bring a bit of yourself, and I just felt like I understood her. You know, I think there's a bit of us in all of our characters.
It's such a surprising development in the show when you start peeling back the layers of her character a little bit, or just sort of diving into her personal life a bit more, because you're sort of not expecting this peripheral character to suddenly come to the forefront in an episode. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
Lucy, what about you?
I kind of do the opposite. I feel like I try and go the opposite direction to any of the characters I've played before. I guess that's actually what you said. But so if I feel any familiarity with Alison, I'll probably tend to go in the opposite direction. Or if I feel like Lucy would react in one way, then I'll go the other way for my characters, just to make it
All characters or just this specific one because you felt different from her?
I guess more so with Alison, especially because, like Sophie was saying, we didn't really know exactly where our characters were going to go, so I thought it would be much more interesting if she was much further from myself.
And Naomi, what about you? All of the performances of your past, how do they affect a performance like this? How do they go into it?
Yeah, I think every character you take on, it's going to sound pretty cheesy, but I feel like it's on the page, and then it becomes clear to you why you're doing it as you're doing it, or even later. And I consider these characters to be little life lessons in a way.
Got it. That's good. It'll be little life lessons for the audience as well. It's on Netflix this Friday, right?
Yeah.
That's tomorrow, right? Isn't that tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow, June 30th on Netflix. Gypsy, congratulations on the show, guys. It's fantastic. I can't wait for episode 7.